What is up, everybody? It is wartime MMA. It's Tony, Mike, Alex. Shout out executive producer Dime, coming through when we need him. We are in London. We got elite top 10, top five, really. Honestly, top three, low key, between Evloev and Murphy, elite contenders in the featherweight division. You could make a legitimate case. Either of these guys is worthy of a title shot. Really, I know it's hard to say, but Diego Lopez didn't deserve to. Mazar Evloev beat Diego Lopez in like Diego's debut, and he has fought for the title twice, and Evloev hasn't even gotten a shot at it. I know his style isn't entertaining, but the guy's elite. Got to give him credit where it's due. Ron Murphy trying to get the upset win as the hometown kid. We got a bunch of UK fighters featured on this card. All in all, I don't know if it ranks the best UK event ever in UFC history, but I think from a record skill standpoint, just about every fight is like decent competition outside of like maybe one or two. But besides that, any other points on the card you guys like to add, or ready to jump
Yeah,
in?
I thought when I saw the card eventually get announced, I thought it was kind of mid too. But looking at it now, not very rarely do we have a whole UFC card with only one women's MMA fight. Originally two, and they strategically planned them right at the beginning of the card. So, get your bathroom breaks in early, get your stuff together, go order some food, and then watch the real fights after. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, it probably could be stronger. Big Luke Reichley fan, but you can obviously argue that he didn't deserve the co-main event slot, and it's a weak co-main event due to him only having one fight in the UFC. But other than that, I think it's a good card. UK guys strike a lot.
Mike, anything you'd like to add on UFC London, or are you ready to?
I think y'all pretty much said it best. I think it's a phenomenal card from so much so far we've gotten. I mean, this card I think will be better than some of the other fight night cards that we've had in the Paramount era so far. London in the UFC never really fails to disappoint. I think they've always had a pretty good venue, pretty good crowd, and pretty decent fights as well, even on the prelims. Once upon a time, we fucking had Ilya and Patty on the fucking prelims. If y'all remember that, like London is historically known in the UFC to have pretty banger cards and to pay attention to some up and comers too. Like I said, had very good fighters that were once just prospects and they ended up being something at the end. So I like watching the London cards, so I can't wait to see it. That's how it goes.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. In the first fight of the night, one of the aforementioned two women's fights, as Alex alluded to, Chanel Dyer making her UFC debut against Ravina Oliveira. 6-1 Chanel Dyer is a massive favorite going up against Ravina Oliveira. You know, controversial takes, like should a contender series person lose a fight and get signed? Well, Chanel Dyer begs to differ. She put up a good effort, I suppose. The girl she fought was not bad, good fighter in her own right. But I think this is like a pretty like catered matchup in my opinion. I just think virtually everywhere in MMA, maybe outside of grappling, I think Chanel Dyer's got the advantage. I think she's physically more imposing. She's just physically better than Ravina Oliveira. Oliveira's never been knocked out, but man, with this line and with the expectations of Chanel Dyer, I kind of feel like it's setting up where she could get knocked out for the first time. She's got two submission losses and a decision loss. You know, women's MMA finishing rate you don't want to trust, but I just feel like coming off a loss, you're a big favorite. Want to make in your UFC debut? I think you want to make a statement, and I just think she's more physically imposing. 4 knockouts out of 6 wins. I'm gonna go with Chanel Dyer by TKO in her UFC debut over Ravina Oliveira. I'm gonna go round one between 2 and 3. I'll give a round of respect just because Oliveira has never been like finished in her career, but I'll go late second round TKO Chanel Dyer in her UFC debut. I just think she's like better everywhere, maybe outside of grappling, bigger, stronger, better record, younger. I think, yeah, Chanel Dyer.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Tony. I got Chanel as well. I'm gonna go with your signature women's MMA decision. I don't really got anything to say. Plus, Oliveira hasn't really been finished like that, so I could see this ending in a ending in a decision. I don't really got anything much to say. I think it's a.
Yeah, this is a weird fight. Only women's fight. I'm gonna wind up cheering against Chanel Dyer in every fight she has, and it's no fault of her own. It's for the simple fact that she lost in the Contender Series in a relatively dominant fashion. She was just like scrappy enough that Dana White got his fat ass up on the fucking podium and I love everything about this kid. She fought like a warrior. Yeah. She's that was one of the greatest fights I've ever fucking seen in my life. It's just fucking two straw weights just hing, 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 making tennis noises out there. Uh, in her fight on the Contender Series, she fought another girl that was pretty decent. So she didn't lose to bad comp by any means. But as a striker, fighting another girl who mostly wants to strike with you, she just straight up had the lower caliber gun in the fight. She really couldn't hurt her opponent, whereas her opponent seemed to hurt her often. She got dropped multiple times in that fight. I get she was gritty, but she clearly lost the fight, and she doesn't deserve to be signed into the UFC based off, oh, she got knocked down and toughed it out a couple times, kid. This is the UFC. Send that to the PFL. That being said, I do think she's probably going to win. She's got okay striking, far from the fact that she really can't hurt anybody with it. Ravenna Oliveira is just too feminine, I feel like, to really make it big in the UFC. I haven't seen anything out of her that really impresses me. Maybe she can get to the grappling and win by a decision. I would definitely not put money on this, especially because Dyer's such a big favorite. I do think it's a close fight, but I'm going to lean Dyer. She seemed like she had an okay grappling awareness, and I think she's just going to be able to women's decision, pitter pat, and win a striking based decision. Boring as hell.
All right, clean sweep to start the card in London as we move on to the second fight of the night between I don't know botch his name, Abdul Karim Al Zawadi and Shamrock. Tough fight. This is a pick'em fight betting wise. You know, both have similar records. I will say the durability of Abdul always a concern in his fights. It seems to be all four career pro losses by knockout and pretty early in fights as well. As I look at it, Loic Rajabov got a late knockout. He's been round one spinning elbow knocked out, round one knee knockout. He's been on the end for first round punch knockout. Like he's been on the end of getting clipped early, and just that seems to be the way to beat him. From what I saw in the UFC, he's kind of just a grinder. He's just a worker, a minute winner. He knows how to turn nothing into scoring, which is a skill in its own right. Sad to say, but true. There is a style of fighting like that people do avidly do, and that's I hate to be that guy, but that's how Bilal Muhammad essentially became the champion. He just minute one his way with control time, takedown attempts, and being able to win off activity. Merab Dvalishvili, another guy, weaponizing the cardio and things like that. So the longer the fight goes, I suppose it would favor Abdul Sawadi. I do like that he trains at Fortis MMA. I think that is a legit gym. This fight really just comes down to me like, can Shamrock knock out Al Sawadi? If he can't, no, it's a competitive fight, honestly. Shamrock seems to be like from what I saw in the Narillo Alia fight in his debut, like he seems to be willing to give up top time. I don't like that. I understand he is the UK fighter, so you would think he gets the benefit of the doubt in a scoring based situation in the UK. But his losses, I guess, aren't that bad. Nathan Kelly isn't like he's okay. He's big, but like I don't know. Shamrock. If it feels like if Shamrock can't get the finish, I'm not seeing it. So I'm actually gonna go. I'm actually gonna go Abdul Al Zawadi here by decision. I think Shamrock will have opportunities to get the finish on the feet, but it's gonna feel like he's just kind of a bit of step behind off the takedown threat. It really just comes down to the durability. If Zawadi makes it out of round one, I think this guy might win. So I'm gonna go with the Pride of Palestine and a decision win where his control time, volume, activity just kind of grinds out a win over Shamrock. Similar to the Narillo Alia fight, but yeah, Shamrock's gonna have to get a finish and impress me because I just don't see it.
Tough fight to predict. I'm gonna probably let me see. I might go. I'm feeling Shamrock. I'm gonna go with Shamrock. I think he'll pull it off. I'm not really a big Shamrock guy. I've said it off camera. I think he's fucking corny, and but I think he's just your typical UK guy. Like I think he's just rowdy and out of pocket, like your UK humor and stuff. But there's some things I do like about him. He's pretty funny, and I think he's somewhat promotable. And from what I've seen, and it's in the UK, and I don't think losing to Narilo Aliev is really a bad look. I mean, we don't know how Narilo looks at the end of the day, but Narilo's undefeated and he's one of those cliff dwellers, so it's not really a bad look in a way. He looked fucking horrible for sure, but I don't know. I just don't see it. I'm gonna go with a decision win, possible a possible win by finish by Shamrock, but I got Shamrock winning this for sure, either by decision or finish in the second round.
It's a tough fight. I feel like I've seen almost everybody pick Shamrock. And I feel like for good reason. Going into the UFC, he was the much more touted prospect, whereas Selwadi was kind of just somebody who had to prove himself on the fly. But I honestly feel like El Sawadi will win this one. He fought George Hardwick, which is almost as close of a style matchup to Shamrock you can get out of any fighter anywhere. They train with each other. They're both grapplers. They both have the same type of like sometimes slick, sometimes sloppy striking. The way I see it, Hardwick's better on the feet than and Shamrock has better grappling slightly than Hardwick does. Uh, Hardwick wasn't really able to get any grappling going in his fight against El Sawadi. El Sawadi was able to stay on his bike, use his footwork, and just keep tapping at him with range. Hardwick really had nothing on the feet for him, and I do believe Hardwick, like I said, is a better striker than Shamrock. Uh, Looking at Shamrock, I feel like he's the guy I have to pick by fluke submission in fights where I feel like I can do that. I don't feel like he has the ability to hurt Selwadi on the feet. I do feel like Selwadi's a bit shinny, but honestly, the only thing I could see Shamrock hitting him with is like a knee up the middle. I don't think Shamrock has anywhere near the ability of boxing or kickboxing to compete with Selwadi on the feet, despite me thinking Selwadi's really not that great himself. Selwadi is a smaller guy, brickier frame. I think that's a frame that gives guys who want to get a submission hard times. He's got stubby arms, short neck. I feel like Shamrock will have a hard time submitting him, and I do feel like knee up the middle or submission. I feel like that's how Shamrock's got to win. He's never been huge with control time. He's never been huge with takedowns. And I feel like nowadays in modern MMA, in order to be a grappler at the highest level, you need to be able to routinely get takedowns and have variety of takedowns to your game. You can't just be an American wrestler that shoots singles and doubles. They'll figure that out. And on the contrary, you can't just be a jiu-jitsu guy who wants to get up on the fence and leg sweep. People are going to know what you're going to want to do. I think Shamrock is just going to be kind of waiting in on the feet. I think Tony or Mike said it. He likes to kind of just lay on bottom sometimes and like try to work for a submission. And against a guy I see who's relatively short and stubby and hard to submit, trains with grapplers. Anytime I see a Muslim guy, more or less in the UFC, I'm thinking, okay, well, he's probably getting rounds in with other Muslim guys, and a lot of these Muslim fighters are really, really, really good wrestlers. And Sawadi's been proven that he's not somebody to easily out grapple. I can't remember a time off the top of my head that he was really out grappled significantly. He does have a problem with people that put pressure. Shamrock can put pressure, but I don't think he has the power or the striking of like a Loic Radzhabov to pull off a win because of that. Loic Radzhabov's a fucking roid monster. El Sawadi's, he's crafty, he's fast, nothing special, but he's the underdog here, I believe. I'm gonna ride with the underdog. I'm gonna go Kareem El Sawadi by decision. Just leg kicks and keeping that range.
Could not have said it better myself. My thoughts exactly. And yeah, the lines have actually flipped. I think I want to say earlier in the week it was like 120 Zawadi. Now he's the even money underdog. So line movement coming in for Shamrock. As we move on to the next fight in a heavyweight bout between Louis Sutherland from Scotland and Brando Pericic representing Australia. I think he is Serbian though, if I'm not mistaken. It's a good fight in the heavyweight division. I'll take the lead on this one. The Balkan Bear, Brando Pericic, he looked good in his UFC debut against someone off rip. I'm just gonna have to say looked more athletic than Louis Sutherland. I've watched some Louis Sutherland tape on the regional scene. For a big pudgy guy, he's not as bad as you would think. I reckon like he's above average athletically, what you think he would be when you look at him. I will say though, his Tapology picture in comparison to now, when you look at him like doing the face off for the fight like today, the ceremonial, that guy is not the same person. Maybe he was on some shit. He looked in way better shape in his Tapology picture than he does now. But as for this fight, I think I'm gonna go Brando Pericic. Uh, what is this? 6'5", 79.5 inch reach. Fights very measured. Good striking for heavyweight. Good kickboxing for heavyweight. Trains out of City Kickboxing, so you know he's getting rounds in with Adesanya and them. For someone as big as he is, like he's got fairly light on his feet. Good movement, good range. Yeah, I like Brando Pericic. Louis Sutherland, his regional tape wasn't as bad as as you would think it is. He can go the distance. Like he's not just like a first round merchant. But I'm gonna go Brando Perisic here. I'll go decision out of respect for Sutherland's toughness. He's never been knocked out. He's lost 4 times, one by submission, 3 by decision. I think this is just kind of a kickboxing clinic from Brando Perisic where he's going to look effective on the counter. He'll land the jab, stay measured, poised, and navigate good shots in the midst of the pressure that Sutherland's going to have to do. Because if this is a fight at range, then a TKO could present itself for Perisic. But I'm going to trust in the City kickboxing prospect to get it done. I'm gonna go decision out of respect for Sutherland's toughness.
Yeah, this is a an interesting fight. I think I want to say these guys debuted on the same card, or they were at least planned to. Pericic winded up fighting Elijah Ellison, who is that's right? Or is it Freeman? Okay, it was Ellison. And Ellison looked good going into it. I know some of us on the podcast wanted up picking Ellison. He's a relatively athletic guy, well rounded, but Pericic just shows that, like, for heavyweight, his kickboxing is the real deal. He's a tactical guy and powerful. When he's relatively fast, he can put it together. And I think like when you can strike like that at heavyweight, you're immediately going to have an advantage over these bums who are just swinging big blows and have no technique about them. So I like that about Pericic. He's got really good low kicks. Against Sutherland, actually also has really good low kicks. He broke Walker's leg with a low kick in their fight. But you know, you kind of saw in that fight, he became another Walter Walker heel hook victim, and a big problem in that fight. I felt like if he had 20 less pounds, he might have been able to be spry enough to roll out of that heel hook. I think that's why Walter gets him so easy, is because these guys are too fat and they can't roll over their own stomach, more or less. And I think, you know, there's Louis Sutherland in reality, and then there's Louis Sutherland on paper. We thought we were getting this fucking roid monster with muscles on muscles. And he comes in just like looking like an uncle at a barbecue asking, you know, just scrapping. So at some point, it's like, you know what? Who we thought he was going to be, that's not who we're getting. You know, the same shit happened to that Polish dude that like was on juice. He sucked. Bresky, Lucas Bresky. He was on juice. He popped. And then now he's in the UFC fat and he loses every fight. I feel like that's what we're seeing with Sutherland, even though I'm not sure if he popped in my like head canon, he was on the juice on the regionals. That's why he looked crazy. Now he's off the juice in the UFC, and he's not anywhere near the physical specimen. He's honestly got decent cardio for being a big guy. He's got decent hands. He's got decent speed. I do feel like he can get wins in the UFC, especially at the lower level of a fucking bum ass weight class like heavyweight, where they're all plumbers. That being said, I do not think Brando Pericic is a plumber. He's a really good kickboxer, training with guys like Izzy and the rest of CKB. Despite what you think about those guys as people or their life choices, they are very good kickboxers, and they have been able to produce several really good kickboxers with a lot of champions in that gym. And I think Pericic, you know, the only question going forward will be his wrestling, but I don't see that really happening too much against a guy like Sutherland. And I think even if it does, I'm going to trust the bigger, more athletic, more in shape Brando Pericic than the flat, slobby. This is not your best version of Louis Sutherland. So I'm going to say Pericic. I'm going to say TKO. I like his striking. I'm going to say second round. Sutherland looks good enough for the first to survive.
Yeah, I got Perisic as well. I don't know if he's gonna. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna pick him by finish as well. I just think, bro, bro that he's fighting is just fat as shit. There's not really to explain here. He must have. I'm looking at the photo. Yeah, he looks fucking roided out. Like this is a fucking Timu scam of a lifetime. Like, bro has fucking biceps on biceps, but now he's just looking like fucking melted ice cream, huh? Uh, yeah, I don't know, man. Some of these regional MMA heavyweights got to be on some juice or some shit, and then once they end up in the UFC, they just get off of it. I don't know. I don't know what the hell is this. Uh, but I think Tony and Alex pretty much like said as much as I can say about it. I'm gonna sound like a broken record if I just keep talking about how fat bro looks. So I got Paratich as well. I got him by early round finish.
All right, clean sweep. As we move on to the middleweight division, UFC debut, if I'm not mistaken, of Montas. I don't want to botch this name. This is a tough one. Out of Lithuania, Montas Kondra Tavicius. And I do believe this is his UFC debut. Yes, this is. He's found the contender series. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is gonna be an absolute decimation. This is gonna be easy. I want to say he's up there with some of, if not the biggest favorite of the card. I think it's warranted. Antonio Tricoli. He's just big for no reason, like tall for no reason. Uh, yeah. This is gonna be a first round KO. Easy. I really like what I saw from Montas in his Dana White Contender Series fight against a Serbian fighter. His name Danny Barbier, who I think honestly is better than Tricoli as well. So I think the guy that he knocked out on the Contender Series is I think the guy he knocked out in the Contender Series is way better than Tricoli. So that tells you how bad I think Tricoli is. I think he's like 12-6. Yeah, 12-6 Tricoli. His claim to fame, I'm pretty sure Alex and Mike are going to go into detail of it. His biggest accomplishment is being Mackenzie Dern's ex. He was he's just not good, frankly. I hate to be that guy, but he's just not good. It is what it is. 3-fight losing streak, all by finish. Yeah. Give me Montes by first round KO. Easy, lock of the card, book it. I really like this kid. He's a good representative of Lithuania. He's gonna get an emphatic, awesome knockout round one.
Yeah, I agree with Tony. I'm gonna go with the Lithuanian dude. I think he's just gonna destroy fucking Mackenzie Dern's ex rendezvous fucking victim. I don't know what to call him, to be honest. I wouldn't even call her an ex husband or boyfriend. Motherfucker had the fastest relationship in history. I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know if bro wasn't packing or just wasn't winning enough fights. I don't know if it was one of the two, but it is what it is. And not only he's gonna lose Mackenzie Dern, he's gonna lose his spot in the UFC. I got the Lithuanian dude knocking him the fuck out. I forgot bro's name, like the Brazilian dude, the that dated Mackenzie, but he is getting slept. But his name isn't going to be relevant for long.
Yeah, Antonio Trocoli versus Mantris, Controversious, we'll go with. Uh, gonna be a short prediction. I got Mantis controversial takes by first round KO. I got it should be an easy win for Mantis conspiracy theories. He should be destroying fucking Antonio Tricoli. Tricoli's a bum. He's a guy like it's like I don't know how you got to the UFC. I don't know how you had success in the regionals. I don't know how you won on Contender Series. I don't even know like why they awarded you a black belt because Trayshawn Gore is subbing you. You know, like take it away. Take it away. He doesn't deserve to be here. Take away his black belt. Take away his UFC contract. They already took away his bitch. I mean, what's next? So next thing time we're gonna see him, he's gonna be at like that celebrity poker tournament thing, trying to win Dern back, trying to get some money back from his career earnings that he flushed down the fucking drain. Yeah, I mean I don't know why he's still here. Some of these guys, it's like okay, like they have no name. Why is 0-4, 0-5 Antonio Trocoli still here? Like, do we really need to feed him to another prospect that badly? We can't just have it be another bum. You know what I mean? Like, do we really need to keep him here? Like, there's not even a prediction I can really talk about Mantis, which I feel bad for him because he's actually the good fighter with talent here. I got to talk about Tricoli being ass because that's what they're like. It's not going to be close. It's going to be a first round murder. Mantis is going to put on for Lithuania. Not too many Lithuanian fighters. Only Lithuanian fighters I can really think of off my head is that Karakate, the female fighter, and then Rose Namajunas is like American Lithuanian, but she's American. But yeah, Mantis first round KO. Tricoli just needs to go after this. This can't be a Tuivasa situation where you just keep giving him chances. Get him gone. At least Tuivasa has a name. Get rid of Trockley. First round KO. Murder.
Clean sweep. As we move on to the heavyweight division in a clash between Mario Pinto and Felipe Franco, Portugal versus Brazil. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Mario Pinto in this one. I just think he's the more, promising, more upside fighter. You look at their records, you think they're pretty similar. What's the difference between the gap? Why is the line so big? Mario Pinto is like a minus 1,000 favorite, which is crazy considering he's 11-0 and Franco's 11-1. I just feel like the difference in competition is in favor of Mario Pinto. I know that's saying much because like, what is his best win, Austin Lane? Like, but I think Felipe Franco is genuinely fighting like worse people than he's fighting. Um, he represents Portugal. He trains in the UK. So I think his striking is going to be up to par. That if there's one thing you can count on from UK training and MMA, it's striking. They may not be able to defend takedowns in wrestling, but they can strike pretty well. Boxing's big there. Kickboxing's big there. You see it a bunch of times with UK fighters. I'm gonna go Mario Pinto, Felipe Franco. Let's see if he's ever been knocked out before. Take a look. His one loss is by submission. Never been knocked out before. There's going to be a size difference, I think, that's going to be pretty visible. Felipe Franco, not the biggest heavyweight. He's young as well, 25 years old, 6'1", 76-inch reach. These are like middleweight intangibles. He may be fighting in the wrong weight class, to be blunt. Mario Pinto, he's a real heavyweight, no offense. 6'5", 28 years old, like coming into his prime. That's still pretty young for heavyweight. 79-inch reach. I just feel like everywhere in the fight he's going to be better. Um, Torn between. I think he went all three ways, low key. Now seeing he's only been subbed. How many subs does he have? He's got one sub, 7 KOs, 3 decisions. I'll lean towards KO or decision. Pinto's coming off a good one against Johanna Diniz. Diniz is way more dangerous on the feet than a guy like Felipe Franco. Franco could be more athletic, but like Diniz is a legit kickboxer. I'm gonna go with Mario Pinto by. He got a second round KO. I'll go second round KO. Ground and pound TKO. It could be he rocks him on the feet and then he drops him and he just follows up. It could be a takedown and it just leads to vicious ground and pound. I don't think Mario Pinto is going to be sub hunting with a guy Felipe Franco who looks like, even though he's been subbed, probably wants to like attack submissions. Just given how like athletic he is at heavyweight, being 6'1" and the frame that he has, he's not a real heavyweight. I just think this Felipe Franco guy is fighting in the wrong weight class. I think Pinto's good. Give me second round TKO Mario Pinto and still undefeated.
Yeah, I'm gonna be going with Mario Pinto, and I'm gonna say I am 100% certain he's gonna win. Felipe Franco is honestly one of the worst fighters we've ever had on the Contender Series. He has a good record that will deceive you. 13-1 is good until you look at the guy he lost to, Freddie Vidal. If you remember that fight, Freddie Vidal is like 4-0. He's like one of these bum Contender Series guys where the only thing they can fucking mention him about and the only like bio they have for him is that he's a teacher. It's like yeah, he worked in the mines. Yeah, he's a teacher. Yeah, he's a normal guy outside of this. Yeah, yeah. 4-0. Just looked retarded out there. And I mean Freddie Vidal, his opponent. Felipe Franco went out there and was completely content to lay and pray him for 3 rounds. And in the Contender Series, against a guy he was supposed to destroy. You got 13-0 versus 4-0. One of these guys is a Brazilian monster. The other guy is a school teacher. At light heavyweight too, at 205. He somehow, despite laying and praying Felipe on Freddie Fidel for the entire time, which is not the way you win a contract in the UFC. Why is he here? He fucking loses his cardio and gets submitted with 10 seconds left. And it's not like a situation where he's face down. He can't see what the time is. Freddie Vidal's on his back choking him. He's looking right up at the timer. He's seeing a countdown 7, 6 until the end of the fight. Where if he did, he would win. He fucking tapped. This is a bitch of a man. Not only that, he's small for heavyweight. He's not a proper heavyweight. He weighed in at 227. You ain't Stipe, little bro. You ain't coming in with that lighter man skill. You're honestly just a fat retard at heavyweight is what you're gonna be. And honestly, like, how lost of the plot have we gotten? We're signing bums that were boring on the Contender Series that fucking lost. We gave Freddie Vidal another chance in the fucking in Contender Series because he missed weight, and that was just like an amazing comeback win. Wow, Dana needs to be fucking. Charlie Kirk, that political commentator. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, somebody's got a Kirk Dana, bro. Of course,
Yeah,
oh, you're not taking us over. I haven't given my prediction. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, Freddie Vidal can. Felipe Franco almost just worse. And now he's still here. He should not be in the UFC. You cannot reward boring fighters that lose now too. Okay, we'll allow every so often an entertaining fighter that loses to be signed. Not boring ones. Not on the Contender Series when your whole point is only signing the best and making a point to embarrass people like Felipe Franco who stink it up in the biggest moments when they should be getting signed. He should not be here. Once he loses, cut him right away. Not another UFC fight. Boom.
okay. Jesus Christ. How am I supposed to top off my breakdown on that? I got Mario Pinto by a finish. I think Alex and Tony has said it best. Shit. I'll go first round finish.
All right, clean sweep. As we move on to the next bout on the card, which is, give me 1 second. Here we go. Ooh, UFC debut of Losine Keta versus Nathaniel Wood. Black Panther Losine Keta making his UFC debut. He had a really good opportunity originally. His UFC debut was supposed to be sooner against Patricio Pitbull, but the fight fizzled out. I think he missed weight, and it led to like just the bout being cut together. All things considered, he looks in much better shape now here against Nathaniel Wood, but it's like similar frame opponent because like Pitbull to Nathaniel Wood, it's like very relatively similar frame. I do think Nathaniel Wood is more skilled, so I think it's like a tougher fight by that regard because Pitbull's durability, the older he gets, it's only going to get worse. Nathaniel Wood, he's been hurt in fights, but he's shown that he's been able to kind of go through the adversity. It's not good to rely on that. Losine's the favorite in this one. I just think he has a way. It's like a way different situation. I feel like Wood's a tougher fight than Pitbull is, but the way he came into the fight, missed weight, it just didn't look good. He looks like he's on looks way sharper, way more focused. Wood is a good fighter, but I'm not gonna lie, his last fight, I don't know how he won it. It's aging better because Delgado just had a split with Andre Philly, but I thought Jose Delgado beat Nathaniel Wood in his last fight. He got the decision in his favor. Nothing against him. I just think he didn't win that fight. Now he's fighting Losine Keta, who I think has similar like reach, height, like intangibles to Delgado, and similar in the danger factor. Delgado dropped Nathaniel Wood. I feel like if Losine Keta drops him, like the ground and pound that he would have inflicted is going to be enough to want to make the ref step off him. He's a specimen at featherweight. 72-inch reach, 5'7", very athletic. My only concerns are what happens if this fight gets past round one, which is legitimate because Wood's very battle tested, experienced, and things of that variety. But 16 wins, 10 KOs 10 KOs out of his 16 wins, 6 decisions. Tough fight. Nathaniel's tough. I think I'm gonna go Losine Keta. It's tough. Like, do you want to say he's gonna win a decision in the UK? It's like that's the hard part. But I feel like he could knock out Wood. Let me see if Wood's ever been knocked out before. 28 pro fights. He's been knocked out 2 times. Okay, he got knocked out to John Dodson, who is good. That's not a bad loss. And he had a doctor stoppage broken nose in the third round against someone in 2016 on the regional scene. I just feel like Oseen Keta is super dynamic. I think he wins round one, like in everybody's prediction unanimously. I think you have to give round one to the Oseen Keta. Whether you're picking Wood by decision, Wood by late finish, I just don't see a world where Nathaniel Wood first rounds Keta. You could say the UFC jitters, but I feel like yeah, they will be there, but I feel like they're going to be way less than what it was going to be against Pitbull had he missed weight, had he go into that fight with like bad mental. I think he's sharp. I think he's focused. I think the line's decent. He's just bigger, more athletic, more dangerous than Wood. I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna go first round knockout Losi and Keta in his UFC debut. I think he's gonna starch Nathaniel Wood. I feel like I don't mind picking a decision, but it's just, do you want to play that game in the UK? You know, Nathaniel Wood got a fight that I feel like he didn't win in like America. So what, you're gonna have to knock him out to get a draw here in the UK. Essentially, that's gonna be the scoring system. So give me first round knockout Black Panther. I think we have a new face in the featherweight division. I think it's a tougher fight than Pitbull, but I like the situation more. And I think he's got the intangibles you need to beat a Wood, who I feel like as the fight progresses will kind of veteran savvy his way into it. But early on, I think it's all OC and Keta, and I think it's going to be too much for Wood. First round, TKO, Black Panther.
Yeah, that's a it's a good fight. I want to go with Nathaniel Wood. I really do. This one smells like a fraud check. Like it smells like a fucking fraud check. Bro cuts so much weight while Nathaniel Wood isn't really that big of a featherweight. But there's been some fights that I don't like from Nathaniel Wood where I'm just like, man, you're getting caught by everybody that's bigger than you. And this motherfucker is like built. And from all of these social media pages on Fight Week, they've been glazing this dude like this, like a prime King Von edit. Like they've been like, I'm dead ass like seeing like that King Von song every single post of like Luis and Kenta edits of him just like brutalizing somebody in the regional scenes, and they're like saying, "Oh, he's a marauder and this and that." Like I'm just going off by how everybody's been glazing this dude, and just how like, yeah, Nathaniel Wood's been doing pretty good in featherweight, but I just can, so at some point he is gonna get caught, and if this dude's a big finisher, like how I've been seeing him in the regionals, I I'm gonna have to take that word for it. Even though I think Nathaniel Wood's a tougher matchup than all these guys that Keta's finished, but I'll go with the Luis and Keta second round KO. I'm not gonna go with first round. I think that's a little too disrespectful to Nathaniel Wood's name. But I'm gonna be so mad if Nathaniel Wood ends up pulling it off because I can so see it. I really want to pick Nathaniel Wood, but I'm not going to. I'll go with the hype. Let's see how the how this man is moving.
Yeah, this is a tough fight. We don't really know too much about Kada. We've seen him on the regionals, and he looks crazy good. But of course, as we know with all the other guys that come from any other promotion, going into the UFC is way different than whatever promotion you had your success in. Just look at Patchy Mix. That being said, Hussein Kada, I do think he will be successful in his debut and as a UFC fighter in general. I think it's the perfect storm for him against Nathaniel Wood. I do like Nathaniel Wood. I feel like the biggest thing and the thing that's kind of carried him through his featherweight career is lighter man skill. Because I truly do think Nathaniel Wood is a bantamweight. Usually, when you see a guy who should be a certain weight class and then they wind up moving up a weight class, it's usually close to the end. You can't make the weight anymore, and you move up outside of your natural weight class to kind of fight out your last fights in your contract and more or less call it a day. Nathaniel Wood's pretty young. It honestly surprised me to hear him even talk about retirement, which I have honestly, now that I think about it, a couple times. He's relatively good. He's a younger guy. He doesn't look old, but when you're kind of mentioning retirement and you're moving up a weight class, I don't think he's going to call it quits anytime soon. I think he knows this is where the money's at for him, but I think he knows that this is not his weight class. At this point, I think maybe he's delusionally thinking, "Oh, I could get a title shot, I could get to the belt," but I think realistically, those chances are shot. A big problem with Nathaniel Wood, especially at featherweight, is that he's just a small guy and he doesn't take a shot super well. He gets dropped in the first round very often by a lot of people. And Losane Kate is aggressive, hard hitting in the first. I don't think it's crazy at all to think that Losane Cato would drop Nathaniel Wood in the first. So many have, such as Andre Philly and others. Looking at a Delgado fight, I honestly think Delgado should have won that fight. He was on the verge of a finish in the first round. He just barely, Nathaniel Wood barely survived. And then it was 2 close rounds after that where I feel like, Nathaniel Wood really picked it up, but still feel like Delgado got one of those later rounds. That being said, though, looking at more recent Delgado fights, he's a pretty technical guy. He's okay for the long haul. He's okay at fighting at range. Hossein Keita truly is a bruiser, and I think he's more of a bruiser and more aggressive than even Delgado is. And like Mike said earlier, there's a lot of like full violence and glazed posts going around about Hossein Keita. A lot of guys getting on the train. I even saw a really casual who was like posting his highlights. He's like, "Give him Pereira next. Give him Pereira next." Like clearly he didn't know what he was talking about. But when you look at his highlights, that is where the hype comes from. Like these casuals look at him like, "Oh, that's badass the way he's finishing these people." And they, stupidly match him up against Pereira. But that's the casual mindset. And I feel like that's why he's getting this attention because he really is an exciting fighter. And I think it's the perfect storm, his style to just go out there and flatline Nathaniel Wood in the first round. I think his finishing ability is honestly, like I said, probably better than Delgado's. So I think if Delgado is just a hair away from finishing you in the first, I think Hossein Keita gets it done. I think he's willing to really empty the gas tank and go for it if he got Nathaniel Wood hurt like that. And I think if he does, he'll finish him. I got Keita first round TKO.
Right. Moving on to the make sure I'm not muted. Maybe moving on to the next fight of the night. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I got this fight of the night. This is gonna be a good one. Pride of Wales, Mason Jones going up against undefeated Axel Sola. This is a really good fight in the lightweight division, honestly. Mason Jones, very experienced, 19 pro fights, 30 years old. You can make the case he's coming into his prime, very well rounded. He can kind of compete in multiple areas of a fight. He may not be the best in any particular field, but he is very well rounded. He has decent jiu-jitsu, good grappling, good scrambles, conditioning. Not the hardest hitter, but he can throw. He can compete in striking exchanges in the pocket and things of that nature. He's tough, never been knocked out, never been subbed, only lost 2 decisions, and it's UFC caliber competition. Ludovic Klein, Mike Davis, good lightweights, well-rounded lightweights. Going up against Axel Sola, 28 years old, younger. I will say, very big for lightweight, 6'2", 74-inch reach. Those are like near like Ian Gary kind of like intangibles. Representing France. He has a lot of amateur fights. He's got like 20 plus amateur fights. So despite being 11-0, like many would think his record is green, he has a lot of amateur fights. He's very experienced and he's fought a lot of different types of styles of fighters in Europe. For the most part, he's fought like your Daggies. He's fought like different types of Europeans. So I think he's not going to be a slouch in the grappling to make that point matter. This is a really good fight. Toughness, experience, competition that you have to go Mason Jones. I completely understand picking him. But there's some instances in fights, particularly like the Jeremy Stevens fight. Like I feel like he could have, it's Iowa. He wanted to put on a show. I'll give Mason Jones respect. I feel like he could have grappled way more, but he didn't. So props to him for being entertaining. But fight IQ wise, a little bit head scratching. He won the fight and he competed on the feet, but he took some shots in that fight and took some damage. I feel like if that's Axel Sola, is Jeremy Stevens a better puncher and probably a better boxer? Yeah, maybe than Axel Sola just off experience. But I feel like he could compete in the striking here. In his debut against Reese McKee, it was competitive, so people don't like that. But Reese McKee's it's like a different kind of like style as opposed to a Mason Jones. Mason's more stocky. He has a deceptive reach in his own right, but Reese McKee's more like rangy kickboxing kind of style. And I feel like if this is a striking bout, I don't think Sola being the better striker is crazy to say. Despite the level of competition Jones has faced, I feel like the intangibles of Sola are going to present themselves in this fight. Him being as big as he is, as physical as he is. It's a tough one. I think the longer the fight goes, it would favor Jones just off of like experience and cardio. He's never been finished in his career. It's a tough fight, but in his pro record, he's never lost. So I think both these guys are really good for 155. I don't hate a Mason Jones pick, but I'm actually gonna go Axel Sola to keep the undefeated streak alive. It's gonna be a competitive decision win and a fight of the night. I think it's gonna be really like kind of everything in MMA. I think we're gonna see grappling exchanges. I think we're gonna see boxing. I think we're gonna see striking at range. I feel like a little bit of everything is gonna be in this fight, and it's gonna be a really good fight. By slimmest of margins, I think Axel Sola's striking is what's gonna win him this fight, and I'm gonna go with a even as close as a split decision. I don't hate. I think this is gonna be a really good fight. Very competitive, very high level. Split decision win for Axel Sola, and still undefeated as a pro.
Tough fight to predict. Both are pretty good. I want to go with Mason Jones. I really do. I another fight that I really want to pick the the country favorite, if you will, if you want to say. Well, he's not from England or anything, but you know what I mean. Like he's kind of around that
You would get
region.
the benefit of the doubt for sure. I 100% give you that. Him being from Wales, him being from France, Mason Jones would get the nod in the decision scenario.
I
100%.
just don't trust. There's one thing that this whole thing of being a sports fan is you cannot trust the French for your life. You can't trust them. The French are fucking soft as hell. Ah, you know what? France is gonna take another dive out here. They're gonna get fucking they're gonna surrender again. I got Mason Jones by decision. I think he will end up getting hurt a couple times, but I think he's gonna dog it out. You know, one thing I can trust about the Welsh people, they're not gonna fucking quit. French people are historically known to quit in everything and at what they do. Uh, in the MMA scene, I should say. I think there's some pretty based French people out here, but I can't trust MMA French people to save my life. I got Mason Jones. I'm gonna go with the decision. I could see Sola beating him, but I don't trust him. I don't trust him at all. Like I can't pick a French dude to win an MMA fight.
Yeah, this is a close fight. The thing is, we know more about Mason Jones than we do about Axel Sola. We've only seen Axel Sola in one UFC fight, and when he did get eventually signed with Reese McKee, I doubt any of us knew his name or any of you watching for that matter. He was kind of like a random guy they signed. I did really like his debut. I liked how he went to the body for the finish. Anybody that goes to the body, I immediately think you're a better striker than you probably are. So I do like that he's thinking of going to the body already in his debut against a guy who's much taller and longer than him and is in a weight class above him, more or less, with Reese McKee. The way you do fight taller people is you get in close and you rip the body. So I think as a younger fighter, that shows good IQ. He seems like he has a bit of wrestling as well. For French guys, he does seem like he's relatively well rounded. That was a dogfight in against Reese McKee. Reese McKee's not very good, but like I said, like he's fought at middleweight before. Like that's a big, tall guy. Whereas Axel Sola, is fighting at lightweight now. So in a way, it's almost like lightweight versus middleweight. And he was able to get it done by TKO nonetheless. And honestly, it's been hard to finish Reese McKee if your name isn't Hamzat Chimaev. So I do rate that. Going through a scrap as well as a French person, you're putting the stigma to the test. You're breaking it a little bit, which I like as well. I think Axel Sola's hands are good, and I think the story here with Mason Jones, Cage Warriors champion, comes into the UFC with a less than ideal first couple fights, gets cut, goes back to Cage Warriors, becomes champ again, then goes back to the UFC, just like Reese McKee. And Reese McKee is a bigger guy. Both guys are scrappy. I think Mason Jones is overall skill for skill better, but I think in a way he's already fought a bigger version of Mason Jones. And I'm going to trust Axel Soul to be able to get it done. I've seen Mason Jones more, but that also goes into factor that I've seen him kind of look buns. I've seen plenty of times where I'm like, Mason Jones should get this done, and he doesn't. Going to a scrap with fucking Jeremy Stevens at this point in his career, when you could be grappling and destroying him and you choose not to, that makes me question your IQ. I kind of know where Mason Jones's level's at, and it's not super high. I'm willing to take the chance and bet that Axel Sola's level is going to be higher than Mason Jones. I'm going to say Axel Sola decision. Mason Jones is tough. I don't see him getting finished. I actually think the best thing Mason Jones can do here is mix in the grappling. Axel Sola is going to be a lot taller of a guy, 6'2" he's listed. And I was worried about the weight cut. His weight cut looked good. He just kind of looked like a thinner version of himself. Like he looked beefy and a lot of muscles at welterweight. He just kind of looked like thinner at lightweight. So I'll have to see him in the cage as well. But I'm gonna go Axel Sola decision.
Great fight as we move on to the next bout on the card. And it is the UFC debut of undefeated featherweight Curtis the Pink Panther Campbell going up against Danny Silva. It's another tough fight. This Curtis Campbell guy is super hyped up. He's like one of the most unassuming fighters you'd ever see. You look at him and you don't think that this guy is the record he has and the accolades that he has in MMA. He's like I said, just very unassuming. You don't think he looks like a dweeb or a nerd, but man, like the guy can fight. I will say the competition is a bit questionable. Like, to see the highlights, 5 knockout wins, like who is he doing that to? You could make the case. Danny Silva, I think he's a good fighter. The thing about Danny Silva is that I feel like he fights close. How would I say it? He never gets blown out, but he doesn't have that finish that wows you. He'll always fight to the margins. He'll fight really close. He'll have like a split decision with an Lucas Almeida. He'll have, I guess, like on par, like his best win, I suppose, like that we've seen was like the Contender Series win against Angel Pacheco, where he got like 30-27s. That was like a competitive fight, though. I just feel like he fights very close. He'll never get like lose by like wildly, and he won't really always win wildly. He'll just kind of play to the margins, so to speak, and he'll just fight close. He's very well rounded. His performance against Kevin Vallejos, I think, is worth some praise, especially the way Vallejos has looked lately, coming off knockout wins over Giga and Emmett. The guy's good. At a UFC level, like I want to say Vallejos is undefeated. I know he lost to Gene Silva on the Contender Series, but still, like in the pros in the UFC, he's only done his job and more. And for Danny Silva to go the distance and be as competitive as he was with Vallejos, that is telling. I think this is the best person that Curtis Campbell would have faced in his career. I think this is a very competitive fight. I do. I don't think Danny Silva is some slouch or pushover, but like I said, like he doesn't separate great and he doesn't lose by like blowout. So I feel like he'll always kind of be in a close fight in theory. But I'm gonna go with the Pink Panther via decision. I don't think he finishes Danny Silva. I think Danny Silva has good conditioning, good experience, and like I said, like the Vallejos fight. I don't hate a dog shot on Danny Silva. Like I said, the way he looked in the Vallejos fight is proven, and at this present moment, I feel like we have to say Vallejos is a better fighter than Campbell. If he's able to fight as close that type of fight against him, what could he do here? But I think being in the UK, UFC debut, jitters could be there, but I feel like in his hometown, that's gonna help ease it. You could argue it would pressure him more, but I do feel genuinely that him being in the UK is going to ease Curtis and rolling out the red carpet for bro. They're letting him wear the pink trunks. They really want to sell this Pink Panther thing. He's undefeated, well rounded. I'm gonna go Curtis Campbell by decision.
Yeah, I got Curtis Campbell as well. Danny, I said this. I think this is a good little test opponent to see how the hype is too with Curtis Campbell. Danny Silva hasn't been. I don't think he's been finished before in the not in the UFC perspective. I don't
Oh,
think.
never been finished as a pro.
Yeah, never been finished. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I rate that. I rate that. And Kevin Vallejos losing to him is not a horrible thing at all. I think Kevin Vallejos is going to be a champion one day. So for me to think that high of Kevin Vallejos, I don't think that's a bad look of a loss for Danny Silva. I agree with Tony. I don't think that's a bad dog shot if you're a degenerate gambler and want to, waste that $1 or $5 on Danny Silva to win. But me as a fan, and not a gambler, I'm gonna be watching this as a fan. But I also got Curtis Campbell as well. I think the hype will remain supreme, and Hey man, I like Tony said, if there's a reason why this man has got the pink trunks and shit, that means you have to be something. So I got Curtis Campbell. I'll go a decision too. I if he finishes Danny Silva, that hype is this motherfucker can wear any trunks he wants. Might as well add the Pink Panther on his fucking trunks at this point. Like that would be impressive. But yeah, I got Curtis Campbell by decision.
Yeah, as my friends have already said, Danny Silva looked really good against Vallejos, and Vallejos is that is fight has aged very well. I do think Vallejos will be a champion at some point as well. Winning a round against him and making another round very close, that's super valuable against other people in this division, and I think this is going to be a close fight. That being said, I think Curtis Campbell is honestly a really well-rounded, good prospect, and I think he can go far. I don't think he'll be a champion, but I will go as far as to say I think Curtis Campbell will be in the rankings. I could see him being like more or less the next Lerone or the next Arnold Allen, where he's going to kind of float, in the top 10, top 7 rankings at some point in his career. I could see him getting to that point. Uh, I really liked what I saw in the Contender Series. He fought a dude that looked fucking scary as hell and had a good record too. And he beat his ass in like a minute and finished him on the feet. And I was like, all right, this guy will probably, if he wins by submission or lay and pray, he fucking clinched knees, just bam, 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 dropped him, finished him. I like Curtis Campbell. Danny Silva's a tough opponent. This is one of the tougher debuts you can definitely get. Danny Silva's no bum. He is a good fighter. This isn't no layup like, you're seeing Teba Gautier still get, or Mario Pinto still get, despite him being in the rankings for some reason. He's facing an unranked fucking bum. But yeah, this is a tough fight. I think this is gonna be a tough one. I think Curtis Campbell will be bloody. I think he'll be bruised, but I think he's the more well-rounded fighter. I think he can fight in the feet. I really like his clinch game from what I could see. I think that could be an X factor in this against a guy like Danny Silva who wants to stay on the outside, make it gritty, shoot takedowns, get in the clinch. I think Curtis Campbell looks smart. He looks like an accountant. I'm gonna trust that he has brains, and you know what? I'm gonna trust him to mix it in and have a very good MMA fight where he uses the clinch, and it's a very good clinch fight. That's what I'm gonna predict. A lot of Muay Thai clinch knees, stuff like that. I'm gonna say Curtis Campbell, arguably a split decision, very close fight. Maybe it will be a split decision, but I'm gonna say Curtis Campbell gets it 29-28 on two judges' scorecards. Yeah, I'll go split. I think Danny Silva will make it a split.
As we move on to the next bout on the card, we head to the middleweight division where we have Roman Dolidze representing Georgia going up against Christian Leroy Duncan. Yeah, the line is very telling. They seem to think that Roman Dolidze is going to get knocked out for the first time in his career, essentially. CLD, clearly, easily, visibly the more dynamic, better striker in every way, shape, and form. Credit to Dolidze, though, never been knocked out. He took a whooping in the Amavov fight. He got broken in the Hernandez fight, but for the most part, very durable. Georgians, I will say that traditionally are very durable. They could take a hit and keep it moving. He's uh he's got to grapple. Simply put, if he strikes with him, he should get knocked the fuck out. The gap here is ridiculous. I think kicking wise, athleticism wise, dynamicism, youth, everything in every way, shape, and form. Uh, the odds would tell you that Marco Tulio was a tougher fight for him than Delizze is panned out to be, and I kind of don't hate that take. I think Tulio is definitely more competent on the feet than a Delizze. It's going to be like a fluke overhand or grappling. That's like the only paths I see here for this fight to be kind of close. I think it's so long as, even if CLD gets taken down, so long as he stays safe, which is easier said than done. Delidze does seem to have some good grappling from bottom and decent sub attempt. Like, gotta grapple. Dolidze has to make this fight ugly, get in the clinch, grapple, close the distance as much as possible because at range he should be absolutely getting destroyed in every way, shape, and form. Hook kicks, side kicks, low kicks, you name it. Um, just Dolidze's tough. I want to pick knockout CLD. I really kind of do. I think the gap here in the striking is tremendous, and if he can't get anything going with the grappling, wrestling wise, like he should get lit up like a Christmas tree. Uh, Let me see how many knockouts CLD has. CLD has 10 knockouts out of 13 wins, 2 decision wins. Yeah, I'll be bold. I'm gonna say Dolidze gets knocked out for the first time in his career. I'll go second round TKO as a round out of respect for his toughness, but I think the beating he's gonna sustain in this fight is gonna be stupid. Kicks, big hooks, elbows. I see elbows being a problem here too. Yeah, CLD by murder round 2.
Yeah, I agree with Tony. I got CLD as well. I'm actually gonna pick the a finish too. Uh, Roman Dolidze is getting older, and he is not gonna be. And the older he's getting, I don't see him taking the same punishment as he has taken in his whole career. Uh, I just don't. If he doesn't grapple, he's fucked. And if he does not get CLD to the ground, he is super fucked. Honestly, I know he should get murdered, but if I'm not mistaken, I think RoboCop got him to the ground too. I'm not saying this is going to be a competitive fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got CLD to the ground. I think RoboCop outgrappled him in that fight, but the difference between RoboCop and fucking Roman Dolidze is RoboCop actually has power to threaten somebody with, and he's an overall better striker. But enough my yapping. I think this is gonna be an easy win for CLD. I'll go with the same. I'll agree with Tony. I think I'm gonna go with the second round finish. I think he's just gonna start brutalizing him with elbows, knees, the signature CLD special. I think I could just so see him pulverizing Roman and making him surrender in the second, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight because, like Mike said, RoboCop, or my bad, CLD does have a history of getting held down by certain fighters like RoboCop. Uh, Dolidze is dangerous on the ground, much more of a jujitsu guy than a wrestler. He's always struggled in the takedown department, where I feel like that is a big difference between him and RoboCop, along with RoboCop being able to hurt people on the feet, whereas Dolidze really isn't able to. You know, going to like a damn near like, okay, good for you. You got your fucking win back against Vittori, but that was like a close fight where Vittori dropped you. When is Vittori dropping people? Despite Dolidze not getting KO'd, getting drops by Vittori, that ain't a good look. You know, damn near got finished by Amavov too if they called that kick, legal. It was only one hand down, and it was like kind of like around that time, like where they're just changing the rules. So if they call that legal, just like that Allen Evloev fight, maybe that fight might have gone differently, like a finish for Imavov, although Imavov did win the fight. And the Anthony Hernandez fight was damn near a TKO on the feet too. Wound up being a submission, but I think CLD, he's dynamic. He throws shots that'll one shot KO damn near anybody, like flying knees, question mark kicks. He hits you with shit like that, you're going to sleep. To be fair, it probably takes a toll on him. Gas tank might not be so good going into the later rounds. Maybe Dolidze can make something happen. But I don't see him very athletic. I don't see him very durable at this point either. I think, at this point, he's past his prime. Duncan's only getting better. And I rate that Tulio, and I do think Tulio's still a good fighter, but I just think Duncan, as we saw, is better. I rate his striking. I'm going to say Duncan KO as well. I'm going to say first round. He's very switched on in the first round. He's able to mix it up to all levels and hit people with dynamic shit early. So I'm going to say Duncan first round KO with some crazy shit like a spinning elbow.
Yeah, CLD by murder for sure. We're co-signing that. As we move on to the next fight, another sanctioned murder. Here we have the main card. Oh, I thought we were on main card opener. My bad. Oh, already on the main card. Ivo Baraneski, undefeated, new Mr. Polish Power, going up against Austin Lane, former NFL linebacker. I think he was for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a good fight for Evo. Not a great fight for Austin Lane. He's got the reach and height and things of that variety advantage in his favor. But I mean, I don't give a fuck. I think the second Evo Baraneski touches his chin, he's gonna drop. I kind of have to say, via lighter man skill, Evo Aslan's a better striker than Austin Lane. I kind of have to say that. So That's something. Yeah, lighter man skill. I understand he's smaller and has a significant reach disadvantage. And there is a world where Austin Lane, I very much could see him, trying to extend the fight how he fought Robles Despain. That's gonna have to be the game plan here. Even though like Despain was like 6'7", I don't, you already know the joke. Even though he was as big as he was there, he's gonna have to approach Evo from the same perspective because even though he's 6'1", he fights like, how would I say it? He covers range. He covers like, even though he's not the biggest guy in the weight class, it's just his power is so devastating. Like he just covers so much ground off of like the fear of like him swinging. He's gonna have to grapple. Very similar, I feel like, to the Roman Dolidze fight. He's gonna have to grapple. If he can't, Evo is gonna smoke him. Uh, yeah, I just seen Lane get knocked out too many times. This guy lives in the first round as a pro. I want to say all of his wins as a pro are all in the first round. Evo Baraneski, it's square, and I could see a world where Austin Lane's gonna try to veteran savvy and grind up against the fence and shit. But I don't care. First round knockout, Evo Baraneski. He is the new Polish power. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Tony. I think Austin Lane's fucking done, dude. uh, you know, I ain't really got anything to break down. I think this is just sanctioned fucking murder. Bro cut all this weight just to die again. You know, R.I.P. Austin Lane, man. R.I.P. That's all I got to say. I'll go first round knockout. Sorry, Alex. Continue. My bad.
You're good. Uh, yeah, this is an interesting fight. You might be looking at the first two fights that we just broke down and ask why is Ivo Baranowski versus Austin Lane higher than a ranked fight like Christian Leroy Duncan versus Roman Dolidze and a prospect who they clearly have a lot of hype for in his hometown with Curtis Campbell, who they even gave custom trunks. That's because they know this is going to be war and it's going to be murder. Most accurately, Evo killing Austin Lane. Austin Lane, known for being a bit chinny at heavyweight, cutting 40 pounds. That is not a way to improve your chin. I was honestly surprised that he didn't look like fucking death on the scales. He looked okay, honestly. So maybe he can use range max a little bit. Evo did take some damage in his fight against Evo Aslan. So maybe there's a world where he can use an extension to drop Evo, just based sheerly on size and length. But I think Evo's just a way better fighter. And like Tony said, when he does connect on Austin Lane's chin, it's fucking over. Like that is the end of the fight. He's not gonna get back up the way Evo Aslan is. Austin Lane, after he gets hit, he's going down. And that's gonna be it. First round KO, Ivo Baranowski. Austin Lane might look like a good fighter until he's literally flat on his back, fucking staring at the lights. Like, cause he really goes out. Like this fight is probably gonna be a flatline, cold KO. Go Ivo Baranowski, first round KO, flat.
Mike, you gave your prediction, right? Mike gave his prediction, right?
Yeah, I did. I got Berneski first round KO.
Yeah. Moving on to the next fight on the card in the welterweight division, our feature fight of the night. This is a banger, man. MVP 24-3 going up against Sam Patterson 14-1. I'll admit it was just brought up to me that they were former training partners or something along those lines. I didn't know that, so there's some familiarity between the two of them. Conventional wisdom would tell you this is your classic grappler striker matchup, but hold on a second. Look out at Sam Patterson at welterweight. Now, I know Danny Barlow and Trey Waters ain't MVP, obviously, but similar frames, 6'5", 6'2". At one point, Danny Barlow was undefeated before Sam Patterson, and Trey Waters was 9-1. Both strikers by trade with similar frame to MVP. Just saying, he knocked them both out. That's impressive. You know, like MVP is clearly a better tier, better striker than them, but this guy, this isn't just your classic striker grappler matchup. This guy can strike. Having come from lightweight, but that was never truly his weight class. He got knocked out by Yanela Schmooze, and for people picking MVP, I completely get it. If he can get knocked out by someone as someone that he dwarfs in size to, then MVP, someone with similar frame and more reach, can definitely find the shot. I completely understand if you pick an MVP. He's in the UK more often than not. Especially what was it? I think it was the second Lima fight. I bet him. I think it was in the UK, and he lost that fight via top control, and just but they gave that shit to him because they know. I think it was like minus 140 or minus 200 something like that. But I knew I was going with MVP no matter what in the rematch. He's getting this win back, and he kind of got out grappled for the last 2 rounds. This is a good fight. I don't hate if you pick an MVP. I get it. But I'm taking the dog shot, man, with Sam Patterson. I think this guy's a different fighter at welterweight. He was never truly a lightweight. He's not small. This guy's on level terms with MVP physically, I feel. The only advantages I would give would obviously be speed. Um, power, like Sam Patterson last 2 fights, he's got power in his hands, but I'll give MVP power, accuracy, speed, pretty much all the striking categories you got to give him. That's the thing. I don't think Sam Patterson is. I think he will entertain striking, but I don't think he's just going to entertain striking. He knows who MVP is. He's trained with him. I think he's going to mix in the grappling. And the reason why I feel like it's going to be effective and he's going to get it is because Jared Cannonier is heavier and a middleweight in comparison to Sam Patterson. Maybe you could say he's a better wrestler, better clinch, but he got him down. Ian Gary was able to effectively out grapple him. I reckon Sam Patterson is more dangerous on the ground than Ian Gary. I feel that. That's just my opinion. I do understand Ian Gary is training with like Charles Oliveira and the guys over there. But I think Sam Patterson's a legit grappler. I think there's a familiarity here. I think he's from the UK. He knows who MVP is. He knows what he's going to try to do. And I think Sam Patterson's not a bad fighter at welterweight. Undefeated in this weight class. He can strike. I think the gap in the grappling is more immense than the gap on the feet. And I do understand I gave every advantage on the feet to MVP, but his volume isn't great. And I feel like the gap on the ground is more significant than the gap on the feet. I feel like if Sam Patterson can do what Ian Gary, if Sam Patterson in my mind has the positions that Ian Gary had on MVP, I reckon he's going to submit him, and I'm going to choose him to do so. I'm gonna go with a I'm gonna go second round submission, Sam Patterson. I think he will like the first 2 minutes play on the feet with MVP. MVP is gonna throw his like his kicks. He's gonna gauge the range. He's gonna be able to kind of see things coming, and he'll get the chance and the crowd like in his favor. But I think Sam Patterson's gonna threaten a level change, and even if he doesn't get it, I think he's just gonna ride up against MVP on the fence, waste some time, get some booze, just be able to know that okay, I can press up on him and get him on the fence. Like I can grab him a little bit. Then I think they're gonna disengage, get back on the feet. I think MVP is gonna press forward, try to be aggressive, try to use the crowd in his favor, try to land something big and score some points, do his signature 1-2s and things like that. But I think Sam Patterson is going to wait for his entry where MVP gets close enough off the straight punch. He's going to slip it and he's going to time a beautiful takedown where he gets on top of MVP and they're just going to kind of stay there for that last remaining portion of the round. And it's going to be the type of round where like you feel MVP landed better shots on the feet, but Sam Patterson did have control time and maybe even in the last 30 seconds he like threatens with an arm triangle or something. It doesn't look like it's in, but it's something to score. Then we head into round 2. I think Sam Patterson is going to feel like, all right, I got him up against the fence and I got him down on the ground. I timed his striking. MVP is going to feel like, all right, I got to do something big. He's going to try to go for the knockout. He's going to do his signature blitz, his 1-2. I think they get up in the clinch, and I think Sam Patterson starts throwing knees to the body. And I think they're pressed up against the fence. I think Sam Patterson grabs the back, drags him down to the floor, takes his back, and then I think he's going to cinch in a second round rear naked choke. Sam Patterson with the upset in the UK.
I don't mind people picking Sam Patterson. I really don't, but I don't think he's gonna grapple. Like I think if he does, I think he's gonna. It's not. I don't know, man. Like I just don't see him getting MVP. I mean, I could see him getting MVP down for sure. I'm not gonna say MVP's this fucking high level defensive grappler. He has been getting taken down before, but you the thing with the UK people, man, like the UK some of these UK fighters, they're not very bright, and especially when they're at hometown. I have like I could so see him going into his hometown and striking with MVP. I could so see it happen. And the thing with MVP is, and going from his like tone in these press conferences and these interviews, maybe this dude is phase rugging it, just like finessing, clickbaiting us with what he's saying. But you know, from what I'm hearing, he wants to strike with MVP. He said, "I'm going to knock out MVP. I'm going to finish him. This and that." I don't think he's going to. MVP in the UK. I don't see him losing. I think this is his first time fighting in the UK in a minute. So I think they're gonna give MVP the dub here. I think he is gonna pull off something here. Like I think he's gonna come in to prove something. And I like this attitude from MVP too. He's feeling misused. He's feeling like you know his stardom isn't being used isn't being pushed right for some good fights. Like I agree with him. Like I think there's some fights that we shouldn't really be seeing Sam Patterson versus MVP. I think this is a risky one. But I think this is the one where MVP shows how tough he is and how good he is. And I think MVP is going to win a 29-28 decision. I think it'll look like the Kevin Holland fight. I think he will get MVP to the ground, but I think MVP will pop back up and then strike with him. And I could so see the crowd getting into Sam Patterson's head, booing him when he does get a takedown, and then MVP doing all this taunting shit. Like I could so see, Sam Patterson, his I don't know, something's up with him. I don't know. Maybe I'm underestimating his IQ abilities, but I don't see him fighting smart against MVP. I got MVP via 29-28 masterclass decision of him just striking with him, taunting him, doing his signature MVP shit. I could see a finish, but I'm kind of tired of picking finish and nothing happens. So I'm going to go with a 29-28 decision where he does get held down a little bit, but then the crowd starts booing. Sam Patterson starts getting frustrated. So he starts trying to strike with MVP and gets tagged up in the process.
Yeah, this is a very good fight, a very weird fight. It's definitely not the fight I would have picked for MVP, but now that it's happening, it's an interesting clash of styles. I honestly think this should be the co-main event just because it's MVP. Sam Patterson's good. This jump is very interesting. It's really a huge step down if you think about it for MVP. In a world where Robert Whitaker is going to go up and fight Ankalaev and Paulo Costa is going to go up and fight Azamat Mirzakhanov, who are relatively bottom tier at this point at middleweight. Whitaker's on a losing streak and Costa's ranked like what, 11? These guys are going right more or less into the top 5 of light heavyweight. Meanwhile, MVP, who's coming off of a top 10 win with Cannonier, all of a sudden has to fight unranked at welterweight. I don't know. Like, I feel like all the fights he was doing at middleweight was more or less a favor to the UFC. Like, "Oh, I'll stay active and, keep these good fights going against strikers no matter what weight class you put me in." And I thought that was dope for MVP, to fight Shara in his hometown, to fight Cannonier despite Cannonier having one shot KO power. And, that third round was looking sketchy, with Cannonier on top and Crucifix damn near. You know, I do think Patterson will grapple. I think when you're fighting somebody like MVP, you're gonna have to grapple. Kevin Holland tried it, Ian Gary tried it, Cannonier tried it, and they all succeeded in getting their takedowns as well. I think the only person who didn't shoot was Shara. I do think Sam Patterson as the most grappler out of all of them. Like he's a grappler by trade, whereas Jared Cannonier, Kevin Holland, Ian Gary, they're not. They're strikers. I do think Patterson will go to it, and I think his takedowns will succeed. I do think he'll be able to get MVP down, and I think he'll be able to hold him down. I think the difference between like a Sam Patterson and a Logan Storley, or even like a Kevin Holland, is he's an actual grappler. One, he's going to be able to hold him down, whereas Kevin Holland wasn't. And even though Logan Storley was able to hold him down, Sam Patterson's actually got ability to finish. He's got a good submission game. Despite him being a former lightweight and MVP still being the bigger fighter, he's not going to be that much outsized. he's gonna be a taller opponent than I think Jared Cannonier was. Like, Sam Patterson is not a small guy. He is a long, tall guy who can fight at range himself. That being said, MVP is a master at range. I think he's probably the best kickboxer in the sport right now, bar Alex Pereira. I think him and Pereira are the top two. I think MVP really just does something different in there. And people call him boring. I really think even like his slower fights like are just masterpieces. That being said, it's been a while since we've seen an MVP KO. And when we were seeing MVP KOs, that was in Bellator. And we've seen how Bellator's aged. And if we look back at the people he was KOing, he wasn't even KOing top Bellator guys. He was KOing some of the worst bums you could find. Like, I know we say plumbers and Uber drivers. These guys, like, genuinely, like 4-3, some reason in Bellator, and they're fighting MVP 2 weight classes up when they should be fighting at featherweight. I've seen shit like that happen. And an MVP looks like a god in those fights. And sometimes in the UFC, he does look untouchable. But the difference with that is if he does have to be untouchable in the UFC, he's probably not getting out a finish because he really does have to be perfect. Kevin Holland, as shit as he is, you can't really let him hit you. That's a guy that hits hard. If Kevin Holland's on top of you, he can submit you. You got to watch your P's and Q's. So I think in a way, MVP's had to dial his style back in the UFC. Against a guy like Sam Patterson, I expect him to fight like in the UFC, like how he has been, a dialed back style. And I do think that is the best style he could potentially do with Sam Patterson. You have to be very aware of the takedowns, and I think MVP is going to look like it's going to look like target practice for him early. But I think Sam Patterson's eventually going to get the memo, and he's going to go for the takedowns. And dare I say it, I think out of the guys in the UFC and even Bellator, Sam Patterson has the best finishing ability on the ground that MVP's maybe ever fought. And I know we don't look at Sam Patterson as anything crazy, and this is a weird fight, but I do feel like what kind of Mike was saying is true. I feel like in the UFC, for some reason, kind of setting up MVP. This is not a fight that anybody would expect MVP to have, especially when Wonder Boy's on the table and all these other fights where, you can throw him into the rankings against somebody, Leon Edwards, since we're in the UK, or anybody for that matter, any striker. Let's fucking run it. But he's getting Sam Patterson, and I honestly think he will lose this fight. I think the UFC, when they do shit like this, they're very smart about it. They're gonna give MVP a fight that, we're gonna think is winnable based on MVP's name and star value. Be like, oh, Sam Patterson compared to MVP. Who's that? But in reality, Sam Patterson's a really good fighter, and MVP has a very glaring hole that Sam Patterson is perfect to take advantage of. I'm unfortunately gonna go Sam Patterson by rear naked choke in the second round. I think early first round, target practice, like I said. Patterson gets the memo, gets the takedown, rides out round one. After that, Patterson knows what he has to do. MVP just has to worry about the takedown. He starts spamming knees and uppercuts, but Patterson switches the takedown, goes around like the back, scales him on the fence. Submission second round, Patterson. And then after that, let's get MVP just to either KO somebody that isn't on his level or a striking fight because we really do need to manage his career better. Who's his manager?
Agreed. Whoever's manager definitely needs to pick a weight class too. Middleweight or welterweight, pick one. As we move on to the co-main event in the evening, it's Alex's boy, undefeated Luke Riley, going up against Michael Aswell Jr. Take the lead on this one. It's a good fight, man. Both these guys do get knockouts for the most part of their careers. At least 50% or higher of their fights. Majority of them usually they get a knockout. I think this is this is gonna be just a good scrap. Michael Aswell, I do believe, is the more uh, boxer. Like he doesn't really throw kicks. He doesn't really offensively wrestle. He's kind of just a boxer. But for like a guy with 3 losses, like he's got good boxing. I think it's not bad. I do think durability, cut susceptibility, like things of that. Like I think both guys get knockouts, and I think both could take a punch. But like the optics, like cuts, scar tissue, I think I would give the edge to Luke Riley. I think Michael Aswell in the Bogdan Grad fight, you can make the case that's why he lost the fight. Things like that in a close kind of bout, you know, kind of like give you the edge if you of your opponent. If you could get elbows off the break and an exchange that didn't look too powerful ended up leading to a cut that's gonna last or a longing image in the fight. Things like that are like good to have, especially when you have the advantage that Luke Riley does having this bout being in the UK. Aside from that, Another case, you just look at the stark difference of how they both fought Bogdan Grad. Um, Michael Aswell is having a very competitive decision. Luke Riley's getting the second round TKO. It was similar game plan. I reckon actually Bogdan Grad kind of striked a little bit more with Aswell, to be honest. He did attempt takedowns as well, but he really fucking made it a focal point. I have got to grapple Luke Riley. I am not striking with this dude. I learned my lesson. I'm not trying to get any more knockouts. I gotta hug him like white on rice, and he did in the first round. And we were all in the group call, and I remember Alex was like, "Oh my god, this guy is gonna fight like this. I know it. Like this, you knew it was coming because." Given the reputation Luke Riley has, the knockouts he has, he's going to want to grapple him. That's the effective way to fight. But in the second round, Luke Riley made the adjustments. He put it together and he got the finish. He's undefeated. He trains with Paddy Pimblett. He's in the UK. He's a featherweight. We got Lerone Murphy at the top fight in the main event, and one more fight after this prediction. And we got Arnold Allen, who, even though coming off a losing effort against Silva, still a good representation of the UK 145. I think this guy, they obviously want to rise him up the ranks. This is a good fight for him. I'm going to go with Luke Riley. I'm going to go with a decision. I think it's going to be competitive. The boxing exchanges could be good. But punch for punch, I reckon I don't hate the take if you think Luke Riley has the power advantage. I don't mind it. He's got more knockouts than him. He fought at Cage Warriors. I don't hate the take also that he's got the better regional career as opposed to Michael Aswell. Cage Warriors does have guys with very questionable records, but it's a legit regional scene. I value that more higher than what Aswell's got. And Aswell's had some decent fights on the regional scene against like guys like Yadier Duvall and things like that. But I'm gonna go with a Luke Riley decision in a good fight, a good scrap that's primarily on the feet. But in any exchange that there's grappling, I reckon you have to give the advantage to Luke Riley, trains with Paddy Pimblett. I could see him adding some wrinkles in his game where maybe the round might be competitive or a little closer than he would have thought, and he feels like he can get the takedown with like a minute left and kind of just be on top and have that lasting image like I'm finishing the round on top. I'm getting control time. I'm if he needs to do so. But I see this fight primarily playing out on the feet. But I could also see him getting some takedowns like with like a minute left in the round just to really cement this is my round, get some strikes. Luke Riley by decision.
I'm gonna let Alex. I'm gonna let Alex kick this one off. He's been pumped up when he heard the name Luke Riley, so I'm gonna let him shout his boy out real quick.
1945, after World War II, England laid in ruins. Beneath the earth, there lied fighting spirit in a ball like this. It went up into the air. We didn't know where it was going to land. People thought, oh, it's Lennox Lewis. Oh, it's Tom Aspinall. Oh, it's Leon Edwards. All of those people were wrong. It was motherfucking Luke Riley. I mean, you want to talk about the Great White Hope? I mean, this guy is, I, I mean, out of like white strikers, I think he's the best white striker in the UFC right now. Better than Gaethje, better than Sean Strickland. Who else? I mean, honestly, there isn't a better white striker in the UFC right now than fucking Luke Riley. I'm gonna die on that hill. And that's a very particular group of people, but he is the best of that group. All the other good strikers are Hispanic or black right now. I think Luke Riley striking is on top of the UFC. It's really that good. The question is the takedown defense and the wrestling and all that boring shit we have to worry about ruining our favorite prospects. Nice thing is this fight, you don't have to worry about any of that. After kind of having some grappling moments against Bogdan Grad, I was kind of shitting my pants and I was like, okay, like, please don't give him anybody crazy in his next fight that can do this. Like, let's not bump him up to somebody that can wrestle fuck him. Like, let's not do that. They knew the assignment because Aswell is honestly a pretty decent fighter. I don't feel like anybody has a very negative opinion of him. I feel like people think he's a good boxer. He's a good striker in his own right. But his offense is just way less layered than Luke Riley. Luke Riley can go to all three levels with any different strike, which I think is very valuable. Clinch knees in general, the elbows. Like these are things Aswell's not doing. Aswell's boxing. He's using these and that's it. Whereas Riley's using 8 limbs. Riley's got 6 more limbs than Aswell does. In a fight, I feel like that's everything, especially if you're striking. In the textbook thing against a boxer, if you're a kickboxer, is what? Low leg kick. every time. They come in on that lead leg, you just low leg kick them. I think Luke Riley is going to be doing a kicking masterclass. I feel like right now we've mostly seen Luke Riley's hands. It's been, defend the takedowns, get range, and fucking bomb them. And that's what he did against Bogdan Grad. I think in this fight, we're really going to be able to see the whole bag of Luke Riley. I think it's going to be a very kick heavy performance. I think he's going to look like Loner Kavanaugh on steroids, more or less. I think he's going to look dangerous. He's going to look powerful. And I think he finishes Michael Aswell, despite Michael Aswell being tough. I think he's going to be tough for the first 2 rounds, but you can be tough for punches. You can't be tough for elbows and knees. I think his face is going to be a mask of blood by the end of the fight. I could see it being a doctor's stoppage. I think Luke Riley is going to hurt him very badly. I don't think he'll ever be the same after this fight. I think it's going to be heavy bag performance. I think he's going to be hurt to the body, to the leg. I think he's going to be cut. I think he's going to get knocked down. I think the doctor will look at him at some point. Like, I think it'll be one of those fights where if it is a decision, it's going to be like 30-25. Like, I think he's going to beat Michael Aswell's ass. And I think, honestly, they probably should call it if it gets to that point. I'm going to say finish, but if it does go to the distance, just know that's what I think would happen. I'm going to say second round KO. He can be tough for the first round. He's going to eat a lot of shots. The leg is going to get toast. He's going to get cut up, and eventually he'll get exposed and finished with something big. Luke Riley, second or third round KO.
Yeah. Uh, I got Luke Riley as well. I think we'll give it a clean sweep here. They're giving him the co-main for a reason over MVP. I think that the stars are going to shine bright on him on this one. I think it will be a good little performance for Luke Riley. I'm actually going to go finish too. I think he will finish him. I think he will be the first guy to finish him. Luke Riley has been to 2 decisions in his career. I could see it going to a distance. Michael Aswell hasn't really been finished, but I'll go with Alex on his prediction. I'm gonna go with second round finish as well. I think he will finish Michael Aswell. I think he's going to prove why he was the co-main event over MVP, and I think he's gonna stamp that name status. And I think will the hype is gonna continue to be hot, to be really good. So I'll go Luke Riley, second round finish, head kick.
Clean sweep in the co-main event as we head to the main event of the evening between these top 5, top 3 featherweights in the world, both undefeated. Both have never lost a fight. Undefeated Mavzar Evloev going up against Lerone the Miracle Murphy. Really good fight in the featherweight division. Both these guys, I do believe, should have had a title shot prior to Diego Lopez. Like I said earlier in the intro, I think Mavzar Evloev beat Diego Lopez in his debut, and how the fuck has Diego Lopez fought for the title twice before Mavzar Evloev? Say what you want about his style, bad as it is, this and that. I mean, the guy's top 3 wins in the weight class, I reckon, are just as good as any contender in the weight classes currently. Uh, Aljamain Sterling, who was prior to Merab Dvalishvili's run, in my opinion, the bantamweight goat. Um, Arnold Allen, who I think is a good featherweight out of the UK in his own right, and Diego Lopez, a guy who's fought for the title 2 times in his UFC career. Having those 3 wins, I feel like, are better than everybody else's top 3 in the division currently. That being said, he doesn't really get finishes. Not the most entertaining style. His inactivity has not been his friend. Even though I do think he was deserving of a title shot coming off the Aljamain fight, he got like a neurovirus or something allegedly. Like had a year layoff, and now he comes back in ridiculous shape. Good vitamins from Mobzar, obviously. Now he's going against Lerone Murphy, who's coming off. You could argue like his best performance in his UFC career, coming off the first round spinning elbow knockout over Aaron Pico in his UFC debut. It's a good fight. It's a wrestler heavy style of Mavzar Evloev, decent conditioning. He's been to 5 rounds twice in his career. One in M1, no, both in M1. He's been to multiple decisions, obviously, in his UFC career. If you haven't seen it, like you don't have to waste your time. Every fight's a decision in the UFC. I just saved you some like 3-4 hours of Movsar Evloev film. But in M1, yeah, he went to the fifth round twice. Granted, he was very young in his career as opposed to the improvements he's made now. It's like this, like Mobzar isn't particularly special, obviously from a finishing standpoint, but durability wise, not bad. Conditioning's decent, good wrestling, things of that variety, and he trains at a world class gym like American Top Team, so I know he's getting in reps with good fighters and guys like that. It's a good fight. Lerone Murphy, I reckon, is the better technical striker. You could make the case is the better athlete from a striking standpoint, but athlete in general, Mavzar Evloev is a specimen in his own right. It's a really good fight. It's tough. Some stats against Lerone Murphy that aren't exactly in his favor for this style of a matchup would be like his 51% career takedown defense in the UFC. He's been taken down 24 times. He he has more knockouts than Evloev, but like that's not saying much. Evloev doesn't really have too many knockouts at the UFC level, so just about anybody would have more knockouts than Evloev. So he is the better striker, but he don't really got one punch hit or quitter power, unless he's hitting like a fucking elbow or like a body kick or a head kick. Like Evloev should be there for the fight for the most part. He's tough enough to take shots from Diego Lopez, tough enough to take shots from Arnold Allen, should be able to take shots from fucking Lerone Murphy on paper. I reckon both those guys would be more dangerous than Lerone Murphy. I wanted to pick Lerone Murphy, I really did. I was trying to like materialize some like film study and things of that variety that could help. But the more I think about the fight, I think stylistically, this is just kind of a bad matchup for Evloev. Aaron Pico got knocked out in the first round, but he was kind of having success with the pressure. Evloev is going to do that. He's an above average striker for like a grappler by trade, I reckon. Training an American Top Team, I think, is good. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with a Mobzar Evloev decision here, where he's able to just get his game going, and he's not like a great striker, but he does enough to have the takedown kind of catch you by surprise. He has good level changes. He has good conditioning. If he's able to grapple with Aljamain Sterling, I'm pretty fucking confident he should be able to out grapple Lerone Murphy. I rate that very highly, very highly. Um, yeah, this is the UK the UK fans are gonna be hating what they're seeing. It's gonna be a fucking like carbon copy of Leon Edwards Bilal Muhammad at UFC 304. But I think it's gonna be more dominant. I don't think Evloev's gonna get fucked up like Bilal did. I see Evloev getting takedowns at will. Maybe late in the fight he gasses out and shit gets funny, but on paper you got to give Evloev this. I do understand he has had some close fights, in particular like the Nick Lentz fight. That was a split, very close fight. I reckon Lerone Murphy's close calls are closer than Evloev's, particularly the draw in his UFC debut against Zubaira Turkagov and the split decision win over Gabriel Santos. I felt like Santos, arguably could have done enough to win that fight. So I think Evloev's undefeated looks more valid than Lerone's undefeated. I'm gonna go to Mavzar Evloev decision win.
Not a shocker. No finishes at all. Uh, man, I really hate Mavzar Evloev. I fucking despise him. I think we should have a death penalty for these type of people. These Jeffrey Epstein-esque people like Mavzar Evloev, but religion saves them. If you know, you know. Fake religions. Anyways, um, Mavzar Evloev, I think he will. Man, I really don't want to say. It hurts me to say it, you guys. It hurts me to say it. I fucking hate Mavzar Evloev. Picking Mavzar. I'm picking him. I'm picking him to win. I'm picking him to fucking ruin the sport. I'm picking him to fucking give us brain tumors at the end of this fight because it's gonna be fucking boring. By the way, I am hating this random Mavzar Evloev glaze just because he is of the same religion of these guys. Oh, if you don't like Mavzar Evloev, you're casual. Motherfucker, he is trash. I don't give a fuck. He is boring as hell to watch. I would rather watch I would rather watch drywall than fucking watch Mavzar Evloev fight. He is so shit at fighting. Like, he's not even a good daggy. And he's not even daggy. People don't even talk about that. I'm picking Mavzar to win. Yes, he is going to kill. He's gonna show why motherfuckers say that he is boring. Like he's even saying to himself, "Oh, you say I'm boring, you're casual, motherfucker. You're boring as shit." And I hope some. And man, I hate Mavzar Evloev. I really do. I hope Lerone Murphy fucking spinning elbows his fucking inbred pedophile ass fucking head. Ugh, hate him with a passion. But I'll give a reason, I guess. Like I said, you get taken down too many times, and as much as I've been shitting on Evloev, he is pretty good at getting people down, I guess. And you know, for as how likable and entertaining this guy is, he doesn't have that much power. So I think this is going to be a 25, like I said, a 25-minute wrestling session for Mavzar Evloev. I'm going to go with a 50-44, maybe a 49-46 decision. I'm praying that Lerone Murphy gets the job done and exposes Evloev. I've been saying I think somebody will expose him. I just don't think Lerone Murphy will be the guy. I think you have to be like a Volkanovski to
Oh,
pull this off.
that's it.
Yeah, so enough of my rant, enough of my yapping. Uh I'm gonna let Alex proceed here. I got Evloev decision. Fuck.
Yeah, this is the main event of the evening. It is probably going to go to decision no matter who wins. You guys know we talked about this before. I was really trying to go Lerone Murphy. I really was. But the thing that really swayed me and the thing that was most damning about it was his takedown defense rate, which I think was something like 33. It was a
51.
lot. 31,
51.
51. Okay, that's honestly better than I thought it was, but against a guy like Evloev, anytime he shoots, and he shoots a good bit, there's a 50-50 chance he's going to get the takedown, is what that says. So if he shoots two takedowns, he's probably going to get one. Uh, you know, he won't be the first Dagestani, although Mike said he's not a real Dagestani. He's from Ingushetia, which is a neighboring province, kind of up near Chechnya. But yeah, no, he's like the first Caucasus. He is not the first Caucasus wrestler that Lerone has fought. He's fought Zubaira Tukagov, who's kind of looking back on it, kind of a bum, and he took him to a draw. That was a younger Lerone Murphy, but Lerone Murphy's like 34, 35 right now. Like he isn't a young dude right now. So he's probably like 27 or 28, 29, maybe even 30 back then. So, I look at Lerone as kind of an older guy despite him kind of making his original rise up the UFC right now. Like this is his original run. Evloev, I feel like I was really counting on Lerone to be able to have the 5 rounds because he's gone 5 rounds hard against Edson where he threw a bunch of punches, whereas Evloev has never gone 5 rounds and I've seen him gas. But something just tells me in this fight it's not enough. Evloev looked shredded. I'm not gonna say he's juiced, but if he was, I'd be like, I could see it.
I don't hate it.
So
No, he's juiced. That dude
He's
is.
most definitely
Right.
on the
He's
juice. I just saw like
off
a
the charts.
photo of his last fight and a photo of him now. Motherfucker is definitely on.
That's why I think he's gonna have the 5 round cardio.
the question is if he was before or if he wasn't. Like I feel like like a lot of caucus fighters, you're already debating if they're on juice or not. So this kind of transformation, it's like, did he up the dosage? Did he hop on it? Did he just
Yes, he's been
train for 5 rounds
he
rather than
boosted up.
3?
Go look at him and Nick Lenz versus now.
Allegedly, I'm not gonna say this is true. I'm just saying, might be on that adrenochrome. If you know, you know.
I don't know, man. At the end of the day, Lerone Murphy and Mavsar Evloev both might be top contenders, but they're both goyim in Israel's eyes. I don't think they're on that adrenochrome. I think they're on that good old TRT and, you know, Osterine and, their special mountain vitamins, brother. But, Evloev, I've had a lot of critiques over him over the years for a lot of reasons. no finishing ability, no submission ability, no knockout ability, not really any ground and pound. Lay and pray. And, he's had to get all the way here to a title fight, fighting a bunch of people after years of inactivity, and he's finally here. Even though if he stayed active, he probably would have got this title shot like 2 years ago. Here he is now. Uh, if he wins, I just feel like, for some reason, I feel like Alexander Volkanovski versus Movsar Evloev is a canon event. Volkanovski needs to get that back against another undefeated caucus fighter, and I think he's a guy like that. Islam, I guess, wasn't undefeated, but he more or less, is. Uh, Evloev never lost. I think that's a huge win for Volkanovski to just kind of seal his legacy, and I feel like that fight will happen with Volkanovski winning. As far as this fight goes, I feel like Lerone just doesn't really have the frame that I want him to have as far as defending takedowns and out anti-grappling against Evloev. I don't feel like he's strong enough. He's older. I've seen the shape he's in. He's fucking shredded. He might be on the juice himself, but no, I don't trust him for some reason to just get up from these takedowns. I think it'll be a boring fight, and I hate fucking predicting things to be a boring fight. I'd rather just say fucking Lerone wins by damage, which is what I was originally going to do, but I do think Evloev is shown at a high enough level to get takedowns on high level guys, whereas Lerone Murphy, Josh Emmett, Edson Barboza, like right now, Josh Emmett and Edson Barboza, just not the greatest wins. I'll take an Arnold Allen or Aljamain Sterling win, despite how well I thought you won, or if I thought you won in those fights. You clearly have a good grappling game. It's just a matter of you're not going to be able to get a finish. It's going to be a boring fucking bullshit main event where he's going to get booed. It's in the UK. They're going to boo the shit out of him. So I think the card will be good up until this point, but I think the main event will really shit the bed. That's my prediction. I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer, but that is what I think. I think Evloev is going to have a boring shit fight. I think it'll be close with Lerone winning some rounds based on like landing two more damaging strikes than Evloev, like a body shot that gets his attention or a jab that snaps his head back is gonna be really what wins the rounds because Evloev really will just be doing no damage. So the little damage that Lerone does will be highly valued, even if not a lot else happens in the round. So I do think Lerone will win rounds, but I think just the style of Evloev is hard to beat unless you're Volkanovski. So I'm gonna go Ofsar Evloev split decision since it's in the UK. Someone will give it to Lerone. 48-47. Two judges give it to Evloev.
I will say that if there were any venue on earth to rob it, this is the venue.
I mean, I think
And
they
him
would
being
want
undefeated
to.
and
If
him
Lerone
being
makes it close,
undefeated and that's big. I will say that. Him being undefeated and this being where it's at, that is big in that decision scenario. So I do think Evloev's gonna have to separate. He's gonna have to know I gotta get little like the total even if it's bitch punches and little nothing, he has to like accumulate enough where the strike count is irrelevant regardless of how significant because I do agree with you. Like they'll value Larone's small amount of shots more than the total strikes of Evloev, so that's why he has to make the number undeniable.
yeah, he's got
I
to make
don't.
this fight like Almeida versus Volkov. Like you got to make it really clear that you're the one doing damage in all of the positions.
Yeah,
So
I don't know though, because like the UK loves the Evloev type of people. If you know what I mean.
yeah, and I think they know the value in you know, Volkanovski versus Caucus again. I think they do understand that'd be a big fight against an undefeated, what people are going to assume is a Dagestani. So
yeah,
I do think it's big either way. I think a funner fight would be Lerone because
right,
they'll fight, they'll strike with each other.
right.
But I
I think
honestly
that's
don't.
more dangerous for Volko in a weird way. Even though like style wise, I think that's more dangerous. That's why I want Evloev to win because I'm sold. Volk wins that. Sold.
And I think that's a bigger fight too. The
Right.
Evloev fight.
Undefeated. Yeah, it's huge for legacy. Huge. Both are either big fights, but like the Evloev one has it feels personal because you can get back at the Daggies and shit.
Yeah, there's one thing about an undefeated British guy. There's another thing about an undefeated Dagestani wrestler. That has different aura about it. Just no matter who it is. It could be fucking Rinat Fekritin, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
In
You're gonna
MMA,
have
it's
aura going into the UFC until you see him fight.
I agree with that. In MMA, it's way more highly coveted and valued as opposed to like an undefeated UK guy because like boxing and so and like kickboxing, other striking is so big there. So like yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Volkanovski versus undefeated Dagestani that the casuals don't know about will sell
yeah,
more than most fights at this point in Volk's career. He's already cleaned out the division, like fucking 3 times. So
yeah.
shout
Safe to
out to
say, winner of this one's fighting Bulk next.
I don't know because if it is how bad that we think it is, I'm hearing Gene Silva has signed a contract, and he said that if the fight is shit, there and if Evloev wins, they could give it to Gene, but I hope not. I hope. Well, actually, I don't mind. I don't mind that, but
I like watching Gene Silva, but I think the winner of this fight
he
should get.
does not deserve. I agree. They should give the winner of this fight a title shot, but apparently that
He needs one
that's
more.
that's what's
Number
going on.
6, Arnold Allen's
I
not
don't
enough.
I don't believe I don't believe anything that any of these fighting nerds say. So
Yeah,
it could
winner of
just be a
this.
crock of shit.
Yeah, this is an undefeated main event. Both these guys should have got at least one shot where Lopez got two. The winner of this should get the next shot, 100%. Especially if it's Evloev, especially.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna run like a Gene Silva fight, who will be like a title shot after this next one,
He needs
do
one
like him
more.
versus
I'm a
Yair.
fan of his. He needs one more. Beating number 6 Arnold Allen's not enough. You need one more.
Yeah, you they wanna throw Yair into these big fights because he's
Do that.
Mexican.
Do Gene Silva, yeah, here. That'd be a fucking
And
banger.
Gene Silva would probably kill him too, so there you go, new
Right.
contender for Volk.
Do that. That's a great fight. That's like the one more he needs. He just needs one more. He's close, but he needs one more. The Arnold Allen alone is not enough to launch a title shot. Nope.
And I think, like, Volk could retire off after either one of those fights, after Gene Silva, if he even winds up fighting him, or Evloev Lerone winner.
I want to see Gene Silva fight the winner of the White House card, Garcia and Lopez. Do a rematch with Lopez if he wins, and do if Garcia do that
Not
instant, yeah,
Steve Garcia. Yeah, if he beats Lopez, he's in the mix.
for sure.
Lopez will no longer be in the mix though until Volk loses
Not to
or
change.
retires.
All right, and those are our UFC London breakdown and picks. Really appreciate you guys for watching the video. Go make sure to like and subscribe to the video. Is there anything you guys want to add on the card? Feel free.
No,
Not
not
really.
really. Shout out Luke Riley. He's gonna win by KO. That's
That'd be
it.
something. That would be something. All right. Appreciate you guys again for watching. And yeah, Wartime MMA, UFC London, hype for the event. Should be good fights. Yeah, get it.